Hi folks, Joshua Barrett from the Rangers Review, joining you in the Ibrox press room ahead of Rangers versus Dundee in the Scottish League Cup. It's the quarter-final stage, a chance for Rangers to get to Hampden tonight if they can get past Dundee, who obviously they faced a number of times last season but have subsequently dropped down to the Championship. Some surprises in the Rangers team, maybe not as many changes. Certainly, as I anticipated, I expected the likes of James Tavernier to drop out, John Lundstrom as well, but they both start alongside John McLaughlin in goals over Robbie McCrory. So I will read you the Rangers team in full in case you have not seen it yet. It's John McLaughlin in goals, a back four of James Tavernier, James Sands, Leon King and Reid van Yilmaz, who comes in for I think only his third Rangers start. His last start was in the previous round against Queen of the South. I think that was the main person that people wanted to see tonight. Naturally, when you spend so much money on a signing and it's mid-October and you've not seen that much of him, for better or for worse, there'll be a clamour to get him in the team. And certainly given Borna Barisic's form, which in an attacking sense in the final third I think has been decent at points, but I think you've seen his limitations deeper in the pitch. Good to see Red Van get his chance tonight. John Lundstrom will play in front of the back four. Slightly surprised at that, but a couple of points have just been made to me on Twitter, which I think perhaps add some context. The fact that it is a King and Sands back pairing instead of a Davies and King perhaps means that Van Bronckhorst will want that experience in the Rangers team and hopefully perhaps be able to rest some of these players later in the game if they do manage to put it out of sight as they would hope to do in a game of this circumstance. Stephen Davis and Malik Tillman make up the midfield. You'd imagine that Tillman will be the highest of those midfielders, but Stephen Davis in the last round against Queen of the South played pretty high as well. Was given kind of some freedom in the attacking thirds, and Malik Tillman after his individual goal at the weekend. I think this is the type of game that you'd expect him to see a lot of the ball and use it well in the final third, make things happen in tight spaces. Good to see him continue in the Rangers team. The front three is Scott Wright, Faction Sakala and Alfredo Morelos. Bit of a weird circumstance that Morelos is the cup striker at Rangers, with Cholak obviously in such fine form in the league, but that is the situation at the moment. Surprised that Scott Wright comes back in without Ravi Matondo. I know you need to rotate players, but I don't think the lack of continuity, or I do think the lack of continuity hasn't helped Rangers at points, particularly in those wide areas where it's been so much chopping and changing. You'd imagine that Sakala probably reverts to playing off the left tonight with Scott Wright from the right-hand side, just because that's where Wright normally has played, although Sakala was, I thought, quite impressive from the right-hand side recently against St Mirren at home. And then Alfredo Morelos obviously through the middle. Robbie McCrory on the bench. It's a difficult one, the goalkeeping situation, because there's been so many changes since the summer. But in my opinion, the value of getting McCrory game time when he could be future Rangers number one and McLaughlin after the start of the season, I think it's fair to say he will not. I think there's more value in playing McCrory, but also you've got McLaughlin there on big wages. You've got to consider squad harmony. If McCrory was to start tonight, it would be effectively render McLaughlin as third choice, and all of the. I guess that's got to be considered, but still, I think the point stands that Robbie McCrory at 24, having just signed that new contract, playing him in cup games would be a good decision. He's on the bench alongside Antonio Cholak, Ryan Kent, Kemar Roof, who makes his Rangers return. He might play for the first time this season if he comes off the bench. You imagine that they would do, with the attacker have been in training for quite a long time now, since he was injured, I think it was at the start of pre-season. Ben Davies, Charlie McCann, Borna Barisic, Scott Arfield and Adam Devine. So let's go through some of these comments and see what you make of the team. First one here, surprised to see Tavernier. Thought Devine would be in, as did I. It will be great to see Roof on the pitch. Yeah, if Rangers can get Roof on tonight, then I think he'll be met with good applause. Obviously, the caveat with Roof always is for how long, because injuries have hampered his Rangers career so much. But perhaps now, if you think about when he got injured at the end of last season, it was when there was an over-dependence on him after Alfredo Morelos suffered that injury. Perhaps now with three strikers, there won't be that need for him to play so many games or so many minutes, and hopefully he can get back fit starting tonight with an appearance against Dundee. Reckon Devine and McCann will be brought on alongside Roof, says Rob. Yeah, I'm slightly surprised that Charlie McCann isn't playing this game as well. Again, it's the fact that if Stephen Davis doesn't play and John McLaughlin doesn't play, you are maybe showing that the young players that are ahead of them, in the pecking order, and you want to use players that will take up, I'd imagine, a significant amount of wages. But on the flip side of that, you've got to, I think, look to the future. But I think you've got to give the manager the benefit of the doubt. He's probably tried to strike the right balance to go out and be really competitive and win this game and win it convincingly. And then maybe it will be the case he can use his number of substitutions and freshen it up and get players game time in the second half. Ryan says some good, some bad there, pretty much like most of the team selections. Ridvan, Sakala and Tillman start, so I'll take the positives. Yeah, looking forward to seeing all those three play. Ryan Richard says I want to see Sands play in the midfield. Yeah, I thought he might play in that lunchtime role tonight, Richard, but I guess the flip side to that is that Ben Davies has had a couple of knocks since he came in the summer. He was obviously injured, having initially made his debut against, I think it was St Johnstone at home. And then there was the news that he had a knock last week, which the manager confirmed in his press conference. Played against Motherwell, but you'd imagine that Rangers won't want to risk him tonight, and as a result, Sands has to step back, and maybe that's what means Lundstrom can't have a rest. So obviously, elbow stuff in there. Obviously, there's a lot of mitigating factors to team selection, and as well as obviously people just wanting to see players play in certain positions. But I agree with you, Richard. I'd like to see Sands at points in the midfield for Rangers. Ian echoing the sentiment about Robbie McCrory. If I'm him, I'm wondering why I re-signed in all honesty. The only point I'd put back to that, Ian, is the manager said when he was asked in a press conference after McCrory had signed that deal that game time hadn't really been discussed. I think McCrory will be looking at the summer when Al McGregor's out of contract. I think John McLaughlin still has one more year then. But I do agree with you in regards to the fact that it's kind of been this discussion since he initially made those appearances back in COVID times, and he's not, I don't think, started for Rangers since. So I think he'd be justified to be a little bit frustrated. But you'd imagine all this thought will have gone into it when he did agree that new contract. Let's just get through a couple more of these comments. Yeah, a couple more saying surprised that Matondo is not in the squad tonight. He obviously played at the weekend. I think he's looked more comfortable off the left. I imagine it'll be Fashion Sakala tonight playing off that left-hand side, even though he did look good off the right last time round. Right, I think we will leave it there just scanning a few more before the game tonight. Obviously, we'll be live after the game, and we'll have all the analysis and reactions tomorrow. Plenty of stuff to look back on, I'm sure, from the game tonight. You can subscribe, remember, to the website, just £1 for 2 months at the moment. Fantastic value for all the coverage that you'll get over in the Rangers Reviews.co.uk. Thanks to everyone that is subscribing and giving positive feedback on that. So I'll leave that with you just now. Until then, enjoy the rest of the game wherever you're watching it, and we'll speak to you